Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel and to my tutorial for the Country Craft Creations Back to School Hop. I will be showing you how to make this folio album. First, I will have a quick slideshow type video to music, and then we'll start the tutorial by going over the supplies first, and then I will have a detailed walkthrough at the end as I go over my decorating that I did on the inside when I finish this up. So stay tuned for that, and remember, if you are not subscribed to my channel and if you want more crafting tips or tutorials on craft projects that I do, click on subscribe and the bell, and let's get crafty together. Before we get started on the tutorial for this folio album, I'm going to go over the supplies that I received from Country Craft Creations to make this. If you've purchased this and are going to use the same, that's great. Or you can go into your stash and find whatever you have. And you can make this project as a back-to-school project, or you can do it with any theme that you would like. So what I did receive was, as you see here, the basic supplies. I received 3 of the 8.5 by 11 chipboard heavyweight. I was able to cut mine out of 2 pieces if you cut it correctly, and that will leave you a full sheet for another project. If you don't, if you had to cut this all 3, that's fine. I also have a pack of the 12 by 12 craft artisan cardstock. I don't believe I'll be using the whole pack. I will try to keep track of how many sheets so that you'll know what you might need, and I will post it in the cutting list. The pattern paper I received is the 49 and Market 6 by 8 Academia papers. I just absolutely love these. They're such a fun collection, so it's going to be a lot of fun. As well as with that collection, I got the 72-piece die-cut elements that matches. Lots of fun elements in that. And I received the washi sheets, which is a full sheet, a 6 by 12 sheet, and then a 6 by 12 sheet of die cut strips. So this is great. I've never had that before. And then the other papers I got was Simple Stories. Let me flip this around. Simple Stories Color Vibe cardstock. Now on the back side they're all wood grain. I don't know if I'll use that, but this side for the school part you have a lot of the ledgers and grids and the notebook paper. So that's going to be great for this. I got it in white and cream on those. And then I have the ribbon, which I'll try to see where I'm going to use that in the project. I got this real pretty kind of a cream colored green check, and then this beautiful double-sided brown satin, which goes great with the colors in this collection. So that's the supplies. Of course, you're going to need your basic supplies, your art glitter glue, which I'm going to be using in this little dispenser. I've discovered that I kind of like this little gadget. It's easy to hold and easy to squeeze. Your ruler, scissors, 12-inch trimmer, 12-inch scoreboard, all that, your silver tools, score tape sheet. I did use 1 sheet on the cover, and then any other adhesives you might want to use. So let's get started on this project. To make the cover for this Folio album. I am going to be using heavyweight chipboard. I used 2 pieces and cut the following. So here's the measurements. They'll also be in the cutting list that I will provide a link to down in my description. But you're going to cut 2 that are the 6.5 by 8 1/4 and 1 that is 1.5 by 8 1/4. And you can get that out of the 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 chipboard. Cut your 8 1/4 length first so that you can cut this out the other direction. So you will have plenty for that. So that's the chipboard. To wrap, I'm going to use craft cardstock for this project. I have cut 2 8.5 by 10 1/4, 1 4.5 by 10 1/4, 1 6 by 8 1/4 that goes on the inside, and then I also covered it with score tape sheet. I didn't have quite enough, so I pieced it here. You want a score tape sheet that is 6 by 8 1/4. So those are ready, and you're gonna. I like to use art glitter glue. I have put this glue with my little funnel into this little bottle, which I'm also using my L album spacers from Country Craft Creations. You can order these online along with your other supplies. So let's get started with this project. So first we're going to wrap our pieces of chipboard. And you don't have to worry about copying this down unless you just want to. I have it here more for reference for me as I'm doing this than it is for anything else. So you might like to get a craft mat to kind of help you keep things sort of straight. And we're using the 1 inch on this. You can also use this in your scoreboard if that helps you to line things up. But I'm going to put this right at the top of the paper and on the side. And then you can use score tape or score tape sheets on your chipboard if you like. I just tend to go ahead and use the glue. So I'm just going to put glue on all the edges. Some people like the score tape sheets because it does give a smoother interior, but since I put pattern paper on my covers, I'm not too terribly concerned about that. So I just use my art glitter glue. I'm going to hold this down and push this in to the top and the bottom. So what this does, this spacer gives us a 1 inch border all the way around. I'm going to flip this over and burnish it. That kind of helps keep those lines all nice and smooth anyway. Set this aside, grab the next one, do the same thing. Okay, so we have our 2 cover pieces. Let those dry. Next, we're going to grab this bigger piece, which is the 4.5 by 10 1/4, and we're going to use the L piece that has 1.5 inch on this side and 1 inch there. And so it lays on here like this because we want 1.5 inch wings on each side of our little spine piece here. So go ahead and put the glue on that. Okay, so we're done with the spacers now, and I can put those away. Okay, so now let's work on the cover piece first. I'm going to show you one, then I'll do the other one off camera, and then I'll show you doing the spine one, and then we'll put them together. So I like to just fold over the chipboard. You can stand your piece up like this on all 4 sides. Now then, I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to go ahead and burnish these down though real quick. Kind of get me a nice clean fold. Then I take my scissors and miter the corners. Okay. So this one I'm going to go ahead and do like Tammy does with the lay flat method. So I'm just going to cut along that score line on all 4 corners. Cut away that square. You can also do the miter cut across, but I wanted to see how I like this method as well. Nothing wrong with trying different ways to do the same task, so to speak. Okay, and then once we have that, I'm going to fold this down And then I'm going to do an angle cut on each piece. Okay, so like that one, this one. You just have to be sure and do all 4 corners. That one's done, that one's done. So now we need to do the long sides. This. And just flipping them around and getting them all mitered. Okay, so there's that. So you'll do the other piece exactly the same. Clean this up. Grab the glue. I like to put a bead of glue right along the chipboard onto the cardstock. Kind of softens that up. I do one side at a time, and I like to do the long sides first. I don't think it matters, but that's what I like to do. Fold that over, burnish it. You can see some glue coming through on the end, and that's fine. Flip it around and do the other side. Okay, and then the ends, and they should all miter correctly without any extra cutting. Okay, so that one's wrapped. Go ahead and do the other one, and then I'll be right back. Both front and back covers are wrapped, and now we're ready to do the spine. So I like to fold up both ends with the 1 inch like this and burnish it. Burnish it really tight right there up against that chipboard. It meets there on the side there. It gets a groove right in there on both ends. Okay, so what Tamara does different here is she cuts out a corner of this. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and try that. She cuts. I'm going to cut out more than just a corner. She usually cuts it in half. I'm going to cut out. I'm going to leave about half an inch or 3/8 of an inch. See how that does? Normally I fold the entire thing down. Whoops, almost cut the whole thing off. Don't want that. So it's like that. So you have a piece of it to keep this covered in there. So the same thing on this side here. I'm going to cut along the fold line up to about a ½ inch from this part here. So I'm cutting out a square. I'm not being very neat about it, but there we go. So up to the score line and then over. Okay, so that's that. Now then, we're going to fold this over and glue it down. Glue along the chipboard and then the whole piece here. Maybe a little bit along this score, the chipboard there. Where this comes over. Burnish that down, and then you really press. I got a lot of glue coming out there. Really press up against that so that you've got a definite line there on that chipboard. It's kind of like pressing and molding that in there to it, and then pressing the rest out. Burnish. So that finishes that off, and then we'll do this side. Okay, so then we take this and we're going to just miter. I'm going to fold this up first so I can see where the line is. Both sides folded up against the chipboard. Okay. Now then, I'm going to miter just slightly, not a whole lot, put my scissors up against the chipboard and just kind of cut at a little angle. Just barely cutting away a little bit to keep it from sticking out over the top of the book. Okay, so there's that. Now then, I'm going to fold this back on itself and burnish. Fold this one back and burnish. And then bring it forward again, or back on itself again. Because this is where the book's going to be bending. And then I'm going to lay it out like this, and I'm just going to burnish a groove right up against the chipboard. So it looks like that. And on this side. Just like that. Okay, so there's the chipboard right there. So now then I'm going to fold this one down. Take one of my covers, and we're going to glue this finished side here to the back of this cover, like this. Okay? So the glue, I'm going to put a line of glue about 1/8 of an inch from the fold, and then the whole piece gets glued. The back side of the cover lines up. The edge lines up with the fold of the spine. I sometimes turn them over and kind of tap them together to make sure they are there together. Burnish that. See how you like those together? Then I open it up and I burnish right here in that groove to kind of finish it off. Okay, and that's going to be a really pretty fold there. Okay, the other side, there's your spine like that. Fold the wing down. Take your glue, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, fold edge, line of glue, then all the rest of it, just the wing. Unfinished side of the cover, line it up, edge to edge, top to bottom. I'm going to burnish that, flip it over and burnish. Open it up, and then I burnish in that groove. Clean out any glue if I did get some too close. And there's the cover. Okay, now open it up. I'm going to determine which one I want top and bottom. And this is going to fit, so I cut it so that it covers the wings, the spine, and about 1/2 inch on each side. So that's why I made it the 6 inches, just like that. So I'm going to take this backing off. Put a little glue where I didn't have any adhesive, right there on that little edge. Just a tiny bit. And here I didn't have any, just a little bit right there, because I got it on crooked. Okay, so we take this and we're going to line it up. I'm going to turn it sideways so I can kind of see better. About 1/2 inch off sides. This should fit almost perfectly up against the edge of the cover without going beyond. Burnish it down. And then very gently raise this up. Burnish where that fold is with the rounded part of my bone folder. Not anything sharp. You don't want to use sharp. If you use glue, you've got to be really careful because glue makes the paper wet. So fold that up and just burnish gently with that rounded part. Bring it up, fold it over, and there's your album cover with the inside spine with a support piece on it. And that's our folio, chipboard folio. Most folios are done out of just cardstock, but this one's going to be a little bit different. It's a folio album is what I'm calling it. So now we're ready to move on to making the inside components of our book. For your folio pages, you're going to take craft cardstock, and I use 5 sheets of the 12 by 12. And you're going to cut 2 pieces that are 7 1/8 by 8 1/4, and 3 pieces that are 6 3/4 by 8 1/4. We're going to score the 7 1/8 inch side right here, the 7 1/8 inch side at a 1/2 inch and at 7/8 of an inch, which will give us a 3/8 of an inch gusset or give for our elements that build up inside. So you'll have a 1/2 inch and then it's 7/8 of an inch. So do the same on both. Put your 7 1/8 in at the top, score at a 1/2 inch and at 7/8. So both of those should be scored the same. Then we're going to take our 6 3/4 by 8 1/4 pieces, and all 3 are going to score the same. We're going to put the 6 3/4 inch side that I've underlined here at the top, 6 3/4, and just score at a 1/2 inch on all 3. Score that a little tighter there, and 1/2 inch at your 6 3/4 at the top, score at a 1/2 inch. Okay, now we're ready to put these into the album cover. And I'm going to show you how we do that. So we have the bigger one, the 7 1/8 by 8 1/4, one for the left, one for the right. I can move this out of the way. For the left side, we only want 1 of these 6 3/4 wide, and on the right side, we want 2. So we're going to make them just a little bit different on each side. So grab your album cover, and then we're also going to go ahead and grab our bigger bone folder and fold and burnish all the score lines. So like this one is just a 1/2 inch. That goes on the left side. This one I fold and burnish on that 7/8 of an inch score line, and then I come back in and fold on that 1/2 inch like that. So that's going to give us that lift that we need for all the elements that are going to be going into the book. So go ahead and do these. Fold all the score lines. Two on this side of the single score line pages, and then one main one. I did that different. I scored the 1/2 inch first, and then I scored the 7/8. So it doesn't really matter as long as you get them both burnished, folded, and burnished in here. There we go. Okay, so now we're ready to put these into the book. So first we're going to put the outer ones in, which is the ones with the double score lines. So to make this easy, I flatten it along the 1/2 inch score line, so all you can see is your 1/2 inch attachment there. And I'm going to take my glue and put glue on that whole 1/2 inch section there. And then we're going to take the left side of our cover and we're going to place it down, lining up that fold right along the edge of the cover. Make sure that this is straight down here, as well as straight at the top. Burnish that down, open that up, wipe up any glue, and burnish that in. And then we'll double check, make sure it didn't move. And then re-score or burnish that 7/8 score line so that section stands up like that. Okay, this side would do it the same. Flatten it down so you only see your 1/2 inch here. Add your glue. Line it up so that it is straight on this bottom section and lined up with the fold here. Okay, burnish that down. Open it up, burnish inside, and then refold and stand up your 3/8 of an inch space there. So this is what it looks like now. So we're ready for what we're going to add to the inside. Okay, so we're going to open up the left side like this. So this is with it closed down. We open it up. And this one with the single 1/2 inch is going to go to the right side of this first section, which means it's got to go to the left of the spine, where your spine folds up. So put your glue on the 1/2 inch. Make sure that you kind of hold this up a little bit so you can get it started. Put the fold, oops, I got my glue on there, towards the spine section. Make sure we're lining up straight here on the bottom. Oops. See, I'm not straight right there. Lift it up and get it straighter. Okay. I want it straight in there, away from my fold of my spine, but I want it enough even on the bottom here. So I'm kind of going to have to move it a little bit right here. Make sure this is all straight. Just going to scoot it up. I'm not getting it exactly where I want. I may have to put some more glue. I'm going to turn it around so I can see it a little better on this side here. Okay, that looks better. So it is a ways from the, just a little bit down here from that spine, and that's okay. Because I do want to make sure that it's straight here and here. And then when this closes up, it's going to go over that. Just like that. So we have a little space of this one showing. Now then we're going to open up these, and they're going to go 2 of these to this side. We're making kind of like for a notebook where you're going to have a couple of pages here. So I'm going to put one down first. Put my glue on that 1/2 inch attachment hinge. Okay. Line it up so that the fold is along the score line or the hinge spine. The hinge, I mean the fold of the hinge of the page is up towards the fold of your spine here. Bring it in a little closer, I think. Okay, make sure it's straight here and up here at the top. Okay, burnish that down. Now once we have that one in, see how that closes up there? Got that little space there. This one stacks right on top. So have glue on this 1/2 inch attachment hinge back here. Lay it right down. Make sure it lines up the fold edges and your top and bottom. Line up. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to burnish that. Open it up and burnish in here and wipe off any glue. So we have our first section that has this page here. This one lifts up. This one has it folded here and then it opens up this way. Okay, so there we have it. So now we're ready to move on to some of the pockets, I think. Okay, so now we're ready to make some pockets for our folio album. Remember we had all these cutoffs here, which we will use. I took 2 of these larger ones, not this one, this size here that you have. This one is 12 inches by 5 1/4. You should have several of those. So I took 2 of them and I cut down out 2 pockets, and these are 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. Then I took a new sheet of 12 by 12 and cut it in half at 6, and then I cut 1/2 of it into 6 by 6. 2 of these, 2 6 by 6, which will leave you 1 whole piece left for making something else for our book. Now then, we're going to take our scoreboard, and these pockets here, you're going to score on 3 sides, which would be the 2 short sides and 1 long. So score it a 1/2 inch, put it in the long at the top, score it a 1/2 inch, turn, make 1 long score, which is on your 3 1/2 side, and then turn it again and make another short score line. We'll do that on both of these pieces because this is going to be a pocket. And you know what? This one looks crooked. Don't want it to be crooked. Let me double check it. Definitely looks crooked to me. I think it's too long on one side. Just cutting in a hurry, I guess. Let's line this up, 3 1/2. Yeah, it's crooked. 3 1/2. And we'll just recut that little end there off where it was not right. And now we're ready to score it. So always check your pieces if they don't look quite right to you. So score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. Okay, then put these miter cut across the intersection here where the 2 lines meet on the corner. Eliminate that bulk there. Fold these in and burnish. So your bulk there should be gone. So that's how a pocket looks. Again. Now I've already made these 2 pockets. It's going to be like this, okay? So I'm going to show you. You take both of your 6 by 6 and you're going to put it in your scoreboard. And what you're going to do, you're going to score it a 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. It's just a lot easier to score while we have it as a full piece here. Okay, score on all 4 sides at a 1/2 inch. So you'll do it on both pieces. I've already made mine over there because I was just checking it out. Okay, so I'm going to put this up and grab my trimmer now. Okay, so now it doesn't matter which corner. You're going to put a corner in the groove of your cutter, the point, and line up the other point at the other end like that, so you can slice it in half at an angle. Okay, just that easy. Now fold and burnish these. Each piece will just have 2 score lines. Fold those up. Down here in the corner where you have a little square where these are, you're going to miter cut just like that, cutting through that little intersection, and then you're going to fold and look and see how that meets up. So just like that. Now when you fold this, you're going to see that you have some excess sticking out like that. You don't want that. So I just turn it to the finished side and put my scissor in and just cut that little extra wing off there to make my angle. Same way here. I'm going to burnish this down. Okay, so now we're going to cut this off, and then we're going to see where these are going to go into the book. Once we have our pockets made, we're ready to see where we're going to put them in the album. But we're not going to attach them down because we do need to put our pattern paper down first. So these angle ones, you're going to put 2 and design like this on the front of your left, the flap. When you open up your album, when you open it up like this, right here on the very front, we're going to put one here at the bottom and one over here so that they're crossing each other. And I've got a paper clip here so that I know where they go. I'm just going to stick a paper clip in and kind of hold them in place right there. And the other 2 go on the opposite side, which is this flap here on the front. So one here and then one here. Okay, so we do have to put our pattern paper on before we do that. So I'm just getting them into the book so that I have them ready for when I'm ready to come back and do that. Then these 2 here, these 2 like this, you're going to open these flaps up this way and this way. And on the back side of this main flap, that's where these pockets are going to go. It's going to fit right in there. And one's going to fit here, whoops, on the left flap right here. Okay, so that's where we have those pockets. I'm going to fold this back up real quick. Now I took some scraps that I had cut off. This piece is cut off from that, the leftover 6x6. And so this one is going to end up being a file folder type. And it is cut at 7 3/4 wide, but it's a 6-inch height. Sorry about that, I can't even talk. Take your scoreboard and you're going to put the 7 3/4 in at the top, and you're just going to score at 3 7/8 for this. Just fold it in half. Now the little tabs will be made from the collection that I have. If you want to make tabs, you can, but that's going to be like a little file folder there. And these are the cutoffs. Call them cutoffs. You should have them. If not, you might need to trim some. But you've got 4 that are going to be 3 3/4 by 6 3/4. Now 2 of them, we're going to take 2 of them, and we're going to round 2 bottom corners. And I like to use the bigger corner rounder here on my punch. So round 2 of the bottom corners. And then take an angle punch, or you can cut with your scissors. In the top 2 corners, I'm going to punch at an angle that this will make tags. So we'll have 2 tags like this. sure I punched it all the way. There we go. Okay, so we have 2 tags like that. These are the same size, but they're going to be a little different. They're going to be photo mats. I'm going to put 2 3¼ by 3¼ mats here on the front and the back on all these. So there'll be 4 mats on this once I'm all done. I'm not cutting it now because I'll do it out of scraps because I'm going to be using brown artisan cardstock or the brown felt for some of my elements in here. So these 2 that are going to be for photo mats, we're going to round all 4 corners. So just clip those all 4 the same. Okay. Now we don't want to lose these, so I'm going to real quickly show you where I think I'm going to put them in the finished book. So let me do that. So here in this pocket here, I'm going to put a photo mat and a tag. So those will go in there. There's going to be other elements in there. And in this one is the file folder for sure. And there'll be some other elements with that. And then I think I'm going to open this up. Let me see here just a second. So yes, I'm going to put the mat and a tag in this back side. This one over here, I'll be having something else. We're going to make some other elements for that. So that all clipped together and ready for the patterned paper when we get ready to put that on. I'm planning and cutting the pattern papers for this section here where it's opened up, where I'm going to put these angled pockets, and I thought I would show you how to cut some of these for that. Now, the great thing about the 6x8 paper for this folio album, I designed it so we wouldn't have to cut our main pieces. So these are 2 of the pieces I've selected here. It's the back side of the library books, but I like the ledger here on this. So this, I've just got it temporarily stuck down. That's going to be in the back, and I think I'm going to double mat with some solid other cardstock. But for these, I've already cut these and put them down with temporary. I chose this one with the desk here on the side, and the remainder of it is this piece like that. Okay, and so I can keep this for what I need for this. This is a piece of this, and I've already done it, and I apologize for that, but it's really easy. Cut your square that is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then angle cut from the point of the square to the other. So I already have these attached down, but I'm not going to cut again. So you get both these pieces out of that one square. So cut a square 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then angle cut from the point to the other point, and you will get this matting piece here like that. If you have to trim it down some, that's fine. This side over here, this pocket, I'm going to use the locker with the backpack and the chalkboard here. And I don't want to cut a square because I want to keep part of this in case I need it, okay? So what I did is I take my pocket with the flaps folded under, and I line it up where I want it to touch on there, like 1/16 of an inch on the side and the bottom, about like that. Make sure it's straight. And then where this angle is, I draw me a tick mark, a pretty good size one, about 1/16 of an inch over from that point there. Let's see if this one's right or not. Here's my point. It's hard to see on this, I know. Let's see what we got. Some paper here. No, I guess I don't know where I put my piece of black cardstock that I usually use. There it is. Put that under there so you can see. So see, here's the point, and this is going to be where the angle goes. So it's going to cut right about there. I drew me a line. So then I take my trimmer and I line it up where that line is right there. and this line. So I put those 2 lines in my cutting groove, there and there, and make sure they stay there. And then I cut. That gives me this angle piece that I need. And I'm just going to erase those marks if I have any. Okay. And so that's going to attach right there. So that's a pretty good close. If I need to trim a little more off the bottom, I will. So always trim from here to here, this side. So I'm just going to attach that down. Now my mats in there, I'm going to wait and cut those. See, there it is. Cut those after I'm done with everything. So they're just going to stay like that. So I'm going to keep planning on this, and then I'll show you anything else that I need to clarify for you, and then I'll go over everything after I glue it all in. So I have decided to mat this project with the brown artisan cardstock, and I've already done these pockets like this. So when these, if it was a full square or folded up with this, it becomes a 5 by 5 square. Then it's cut at an angle. So for my brown mat, I cut it at 4 7/8 by 4 7/8, and then I'm going to cut from point to point to get my triangle. So you need 2 like this. Already done the one side. Now you may have to make some adjustments, but let's see how it looks. Okay, so it should be pretty close. It's a little bit, it needs to be just a little bit shorter on this one. So what I'm going to do is cut these side ones just a tiny bit, not a whole lot. Just a little sliver off the straight edges, not the long angle. Let's see if that helps me. There. Okay, little sliver off of that. So let's grab this one, and then we'll lay it on there. So yeah, I think that works a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. So just line it up. Let's get a bit of our craft still showing. Okay. And then this, of course, this is the inner one. So now these are going to be just a little bit, because I think I cut these at 4 7/8. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit here on both short edges. I did one side. We'll see how that looks. So far I've just done one side. So do one side and then lay it on and see how that fits for you. Because I just want a narrow margin. I want brown to show. Okay, just a little bit on the bottom one, I think. Turn it this way. Okay, so you do have to just kind of play with it. Okay, that looks better. Didn't get that straight down there on the end. Okay. Scissors to kind of straighten this up. That little point. Luckily that will be underneath. Okay, so that one looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. It may not be perfect, but it'll be pretty close to what we need. So that's this one. A little bit. There we go. Slide it a little bit. Okay, so there's that one. Okay. We'll take this one, the next one, and lay this on here and see how she looks. Okay, definitely more on this bottom edge. Check it. Because I do want some of the craft showing. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go with that. Don't want to cut off too much. Make sure I stay in frame on this camera. I tend to pull everything toward me, and that's not in the camera. Okay, so line this one up. We got some of the craft showing. Okay, that looks good. Oh, that's way. Of course, I thought I had it upside down. So we're going to need to cut off a little bit from this long side. Turn it this way. Turn it upside down. Get my point cut right. See how that looks a little more on this side. Oops, it slipped. Okay. Let's see how that did. Lay it on there. Okay, that'll work. It's off a little bit on that one edge, but that's okay. Okay, so we got that. Now, let's get these glued on. I'm going to move my trimmer out of the way so I have a little bit more room, space, and that glare is gone. Okay, grab the book. So what I have already done is I cut the brown mats for this. So these are 6 1/8 by 8 1/8 out of the brown, and then I put the 6 by 8 pattern paper on it. So you don't have to cut the pattern paper when you do this. Okay, so that's those here, and I wanted it solid all the way down in the pocket. So these are going to glue right there, one on each side. On these flaps that are opened up. Now, right quick, after I put this down, I should have told you, of course, this is the first pattern paper really that we're laying down, except for the little triangles. Before you start putting all your papers down, inside your book, your pattern papers, pick out your papers for your outside front cover. And I have done that, and I will show you what I picked out for myself to use. Let's see here. It's a little short up there on the top. Like that. There we go. A little bit better on placement. So we burnish this down right quick, and then I will show you what I picked for my cover. And I put a sticky note on it. I'm using the front side here, which is the back side of the branding sheet. And this I'm going to cut down for the spine. So it'll be like that, that. And then this will be on the back, which is the back of the branding strip or the branding cover, which is really nice that they add that. I just like those images. So that is my front and back cover. And of course, it'll be matted to the brown. Okay, so like right here, this side, we're going to put our pockets here. And then this one in here. So I'm going to put this left one down first. So the glue just goes on the 1/2 inch attachment tab or hinge. You glue on both of them. And then line this one up to the left, far left, just like this along the bottom. Push it all the way down to the edge of the page. And burnish that. Okay, let me grab this. so I can see. Okay. Then grab the one that goes here inside, and it's going to attach like that. So glue on the 1/2 inches on the back side. Slip this inside like that and line it up here on the edge, right along the edge of our fold there and along the bottom. Just push it really well, burnish that. Okay, so there's our angled pockets like that. I love that with the ledger in there. Let's go ahead and do this side. So this goes under there so we can see what we're doing. So this mats onto here. So it took 2 sheets of brown for that. And then I used 1/2 a sheet, I think, for the triangles. It has leftover scrap from another project that I think was about 1/2 a sheet. Okay. Sure, put it on right. Okay, burnish that down. And then the pocket. So this one goes to the outside edge. Again, the glue on the 1/2 inch hinges on the back. I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. Love this pattern paper. It's so pretty. Okay, so now the glue on the 1/2 inch attachment hinges on the back. Burnish. This side has the brown cardstock that is the mat is 6 1/8 by 8 1/8, and then I have your 6 by 8 pattern paper here. So there's no cutting of the pattern paper. Then the pocket, for the pocket, 6 1/8 wide by 2 7/8 tall on the brown, and then that made this the 6 wide cut down to 2 3/4. And so now we can just put our pocket on like this, right on top of the pattern paper. So I'm going to head and put glue on all 3 sides of my 1/2 inch attachment hinges here on the back. Get my glue on there, my art glitter glue that I have in this little dispenser here. Okay, so line it up to the outer edge so that it's not getting into the hinge as much, and make sure it lines up on the bottom. And then I'm going to burnish this. Just get this all down really good. I love the brick there. This paper reminds me so much of where I went to high school. We had a big 3-story building. It's no longer around anymore, but it was really old when I went to school there. Okay, so there's that. So that's the pocket. Like I said, you can put different scraps of stuff in there, mats and things. Here on this flap, this one is also, the brown is 6 1/8 by 8 1/8, and the 6 by 8 solid piece of paper here. And then on the inside, this is the same side. So your brown is going to be 6 1/8 by 8 1/8, and then your 6 by 8 pattern paper. This is the grid. Can you see that? Let me hold it up. Okay. This one's different because it's wider in here. So my brown was cut 8 1/8 tall, but to cover the area, I had to cut it at 6 3/8. Yep, 6 3/8, which made me have more spacing here on the sides. So I trimmed down my pattern paper just for this one down to about 7 7/8 to give it a little more margin to balance it out. But let's go over this real quick. So here on the center, I cut the mat. It's 8 1/8 by, the brown is 1 1/2. And then of course this piece was 8 inches tall. Cut it at 1 3/8. So that's that piece there in the center. We already done this. Open this up. This one, these two, and this one all have the 6 1/8 by 8 1/8 brown mats. And so then it's the 6 by 8 papers on this one, this one, this one. These I had to cut. These are out of the 12 by 12 of that Simple Stories. So these I cut 6 by 8. And then this is 6 by 8 on that. And then when you open this up, in here, this section here is wider. So this, your brown has to be 6 3/8 by 8 1/8. And then I did trim down the pattern paper 1/8 of an inch. So it's 7 7/8 tall by your 6 inches wide. So everything's patterned. And now we're ready to put our little pocket in over here like we did on the other. So I'm going to cut this brown really quick, and then we'll mat this. I'll mat it, and then I'll come in and we'll put the pocket in. Okay, so the brown mat on this pocket is 6 1/8 wide by 2 7/8 tall, and then your brick is 6 by 2 3/4. Okay, and so that's going to glue right down here on the bottom. And again, we're going to glue it more out towards the edge. So I'm going to put my glue on my 1/2 inch attachment flaps on the back. Attach it down here at the bottom, over to the side. There we go. And then we burnish it. Okay, so there's that. So now we need to do the outside, and then we'll do all the elements on the inside. And I'm going to decide to probably put a tie closure on it, I think. So we'll be ready to start that next. And now we're ready to put our papers on our cover. I was going to put a ribbon down first, but I think I'm going to wait and do it during decorating, like add some kind of element from my die cut pack. So I matted this 6 wide. I trimmed it down to 7, all the pieces. The height of it is 7 7/8, I believe. 7 3/4. Sorry, 7 3/4, because I wanted this border around it. This piece, the cardstock mat, is 6 3/8 by 8 1/8. So this is the one that's going to go in the front. This older school building here. I really like how that looks. So I'm going to open this up. This is the great thing about the lay flat cover. You can open it like that and get your cover, your pattern paper down on it. So I am using glue on this. So I'm going to put the front one down first. And it is possible you don't have to have a tie on this, but if I do, I will put it on and use a decorative piece to cover it. That way it's not under the paper and pulling it up. So let's center this, get our craft border showing pretty evenly on the sides and the bottom and top. It's kind of hard to, okay. All right, like that. So I'm going to burnish that down. Okay. Now these two are cut the same size, the mats and the paper, so 7 3/4 tall, 6 wide, and the 6 and 3/8 by 8 1/8. Okay, so get this burnished on really good. I love that image there. So this one with the chevron print, this is 7, 8 1/8. Sorry, yeah, 8 1/8, and the cardstock is 1 1/2, and then the patterned paper is 1 1/4 wide by 7 3/4 tall. Put that on next so I can kind of line it up. Just press it down in there. Okay, burnish. And then this one over here on the back. Oh, that one is upside down. Whoops. Good thing I noticed. Flip it around. This bell was upside down. So I'm glad I noticed that. Okay. I was thinking the print was down here at the bottom, but nope. Okay. Caught that in the nick of time. Pay attention. Okay. So there's the cover paper on. So actually the construction is done. Of course, I got to show you how to do some of your elements in here. We'll do that next, and then I'll finish decorating and finish the book up. And I will also show you, make sure you see how I do the ribbon closure if I decide to put one on there. To make your library card pockets and your coin envelope pocket, this is the library card pocket, this is the coin one. Go to your scraps because you should have plenty that are probably already the correct width. If not, you can make yours a different width. It's okay. You can cut from a new sheet of cardstock, but I'm going to give you measurements that I use. So let's do the library card first. So you need a piece of cardstock that's 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. So this is what this is going to be look like when we get done. 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. That's all you need. And we're going to score our 5 1/4 side at 1/2 inch and at 4 1/2. No, sorry, 4 3/4. We want a 1/2 inch score there. 4 3/4. Okay, so we got that. Then we're going to turn it on our 8 1/2 inch side and score at 2 1/2. 2 1/2. Okay, so now we have that. So can you see those lines? Kind of hard to see. You got a 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch here, 2 1/2 down here. So this becomes the bottom down here, and this is the upper part. So we don't need this 1/2 inch all the way up. So we're going to take our scissors and we're going to angle cut this 1/2 inch to the join score line right there. And then we're going to cut out the score line all the way up. Take out that 1/2 inch. We don't need that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to angle cut in to the intersection, and then we're going to cut out the score line all the way up the top. These are really easy to make. Throw that away. Now then, go ahead and fold and burnish this remaining 1/2 inches down here. So I'm going to miter this a little bit right here at the top, just that 1/2 inch. Get rid of some of that. Then we're going to notch punch. If you have the notch punch, or you can use your envelope punch board. But I'm using this, and I'm just going to center it on this bottom pocket piece, this smaller section. Okay, so there's the notch. And then I'm going to round this top one. Now there is a corner rounder on this. I don't know how big a rounding, well, I'm not going to round it. Not this one. This one is the angle punch. Yeah, angle punch. So I'm going to angle punch up here at the top 2 corners like that. This right here, you may need to trim down just a little bit to get that fold to lay it flat enough, like that, and like that. The other side needs trimmed just a tiny bit. So you want to make sure you're cutting away that score line when you're wrapping around that. Just going to make sure it lays down. Okay, so now all you have to do is take your glue on the little 1/2 inch on the back side, your little flaps, lay it down, attach it down, and that's how easy it is to make a library card pocket. So now you can ink it, age it however you want, decorate it, add patterned paper. I'll decide on that later, but that's the 2 library pockets. It's kind of hard to see. There you go. Okay, so now let's make our coin envelope. So like this, and we're going to need our circle punch. You're going to need a big bite, or if you have the hammer to do your eyelets, so that's fine. Let me find my circle punch. Oh, there it is, right there. Okay, so we need 2 pieces cut. This main piece is cut. It's a 12-inch piece from the scraps, and it is also 5 1/4. Okay. Then we need a little piece that is 2 inches by 5 1/4. I'm going to set that one aside for right now. This bigger one, we put the 12 in at the top, and we're going to score at 2 inches and at 7. Turn it so you have your 5 1/4 at the top, and you're going to score at half, just like the other one, 1/2 inch, and 4 3/4. That's a 1/2 inch on each side. Okay. This one, did I have to give you the measurement wrong? It's 4 1/4. 4 1/4 by 2 inches for each one that you make. Okay. All right, so let's fold up our score lines. I can move my scoreboard out of the way. Okay. That's the top. This is the bottom pocket here. And what I like to do once I get it scored is I like to take my trimmer again, and this widest section here, I'm just going to trim off about a 1/16 of an inch or so, or an 1/8, whatever you want, but you don't want it flush up against that part there. You want to keep it away from the fold. So about 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. I think I did 8. Okay. Now then, we are going to round these 2 top corners. But before we do that, we're going to cut away what we don't need. And we don't need the 1/2 inch on each side of the shorter piece and the center piece here. So take my scissors, and I'm just going to cut. Now you could do this with your trimmer also. Cut away the score line up to the fold here, and then I'm going to angle cut that in there. So all of this from the 2-inch section on your score line, cut all the way up to the score line, and then angle out. Okay. Then you're going to fold these in, the 1/2 inch that's remaining. This is what puts it all together. Like that, and I'm going to go ahead and miter these 1/2 inch sections here on the top edge. So that's like that, and that's going to go up, and that's going to come down. Okay, so a little rough in here where I did my scoring. I'm just going to burnish it and see if I can kind of smooth it out. If not, I'm going to take a sanding tool and sand it up. I've scored it a little too hard on that section. It's going to be okay. You may want to rough it up anyway. Okay, so now we want, let's open this up. We want a notch in this main section here. We're going to center that. There's our notch for our coin envelope. And then you can use this corner rounder if it works for you. It's kind of small. I like the bigger one, so I'm going to use my bigger one here. The top 2 corners of the 2-inch flap. So that's like that. There you go. Now we're going to do, before we glue it together, we're going to do our circles. And you want, not this piece. Let's do this first. This piece goes right in here because I want to double thickness this flap because you may use it a lot. So I'm going to put glue on the inside of it, the top 2-inch flap, above that score line, just on the flap. This piece that we cut out, the smaller piece, this is the 4 1/4 by 2. Just drop it into that fold line, line it up on the ends, furnish it, and it is a little longer over here, so I'm going to trim it off just a little bit. So we probably in your trimmer could cut that down some. And then I round it again to make sure all the corners match. Okay, so I'm going to trim this down. I know you can't see it, but I can. Okay, that just gives us a double thickness there on that flap where you're going in and out a lot. I still see some overhang. Okay, that's better. So I suggest you trim that down just a tad smaller than what we're gluing it to. Okay, so now let's do our circles. So find a scrap of your craft cardstock, your circle, 1-inch circle, punch out of your craft or whatever cardstock you're using, 4 circles. Okay, glue 2 of each together. think I want some more. Let's do 4 more, or at least 2 more. Let's see how thick that is. Can't remember if I did 3 or 4. So now I have the thickness of 3. Just comparing it. Yeah, I think 3 will work. Okay. So you need 6 circles in the 1-inch size. Glue 3 together so that you have a set of 2. Then from your paper, your patterned paper, I don't know where a scrap went, so let me find it. So I cut it off from the angle. I like this graft here. So I just need 2 circles. Okay. The dot is cute too if you want to do it different. That one don't have a dot. So I'm just going to do it with the graft. So we're going to glue this just on one side, a patterned one. And if you are going to pattern your envelope, your coin envelope, you would need to do it probably before you do all this assembly. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave mine craft for right now. I might glue some paper on it later, like scraps of paper or something, but I'm not going to pattern the entire thing. Okay, so now I have those. Let's let that dry for a bit. Once it's dry, you're ready to punch your holes. So let's take our circle, our punch. So I'm using the large punch on my big bite. And I'm just going to center this the best I can. Punch a hole in the circle. Each one. Okay, we got that. Now then we're going to, oops, not that one. Cut me off a piece of twine, jute twine, about 18 inches. I'm going to use that. You do this before you glue your envelope together, okay? So I'm going to fold it up like it is together. I'm going to take my circle. I'm going to place it where I want it on the top, centered like that. And I'm going to take a pen and mark my circle. I'm going to lay the other one down here a ways and mark it. So I have those circles marked on the envelope. So line this up in here. Punch the hole in both. Only the big bite will reach far enough in on this wider section here. You have another regular hole punch, or you may just have to use an awl to punch your hole if you don't have one. Okay, so now we're ready for our eyelets. I got 2 silver ones here. I'm going to put a circle over the hole and push this through it. Fit it on the circle. It's a real tight fit. And then through the flap. I'm going to set it. Okay. Other one. Push this through the circle. You want the finished side on where the paper is. These 2 flaps here, 1/2-inch flaps, just take your glue. On both sides. Add your glue. Fold up. Attach down and burnish. Okay, now you have your coin envelope, and all you need to do is add your string and you tie it on the bottom. So put your string around, give you enough tail to tie it into a knot. Pull it tight so it goes around that eyelet. Double knot it again. Kind of going at it backwards, but I got it knotted, 2 knots in there. And then take your scissors and trim this off really short underneath there. Okay, then fold it. Now you can just wrap it around underneath as many times as you need. And then I'm going to tie a knot here at the bottom so that my twine doesn't ravel out, and just clip that off. And there is your coin envelope to hold different things in your back to school folio album. And I'm just going to tuck mine in a pocket. And of course I plan to probably like ink around it, get it kind of aged or something, but it's going to just go right in here like that. And these other library card pockets, I'm thinking, since they're not real thick, I'm going to put them in here. And in this pocket over here, so that there, then I will add a little journaling card or something in there. Okay, so next I'm going to do some decorating. I will show you putting on the tie closure, what I decide to do with that. And I usually do the decorating off camera because sometimes I have to take my time and think about it, and it takes up a lot of video time, but I will certainly go over it with you when I do that. But the next thing I'll do is my ribbon. Now I'm ready to decorate the front cover, and have spent quite a bit of time laying things out and playing with it, using the ribbon to tie to see how I like that, some of the seam satin brown ribbon, and I think I like this. Now I thought about doing this as a lifted piece here, but I want to keep the album cover flat, and so I wanted to bring in this framed brick window to kind of like a peeking inside, but yet keep the integrity of this image down here, which, except for the shape up here, so totally reminds me of my high school building that I went to high school in here in Texas. So there are 2 of these in this die cut package, a really big one, and I thought that's too big, it covers up too much, and then this smaller one. So this is one I decided to use, and then I cut a piece of this paper. So it's just temporary glued down, and also on the back I decided to do a little piecing over this ribbon. So this is loose looking, it's not secured in yet. This paper image here, and this, I decided to use this yellow paper that I kind of mimicked a cut like this, some of this dot, and then this die that's this locker. So I like the look of that. Just a bunch of layering stuff on there, so that I remember what I've got planned, because I've got to take all this off to take a to glue it down. So what I like to do is take my phone and snap a picture of it so I can just look at it and recreate pretty much what I had decided to do. So I'm going to go ahead and off camera glue all this down and come back and show you. Now the ribbons I'm going to put down with score tape, and all the rest of this I'm going to be using my art glitter glue to glue it down. And so I'll come back and show you the finished look in just a bit. I thought I would show you a little bit of how I'm doing the ribbon. Now I put 2 strips of the score tape from the edge of the pattern paper across the front, wrapped it all the way around, and ended it down here. And I did put a little bit of art glitter glue in the middle before I put the ribbon down, and then also on the ends. And I'm letting that dry really good. then I'm putting a single 3/8 inch. So I used 2 3/8 for the green ribbon, and I'm putting a single 3/8 inch all the way around from that edge to here. Now this ribbon, I'm not going to tie it in. I want it down like that. And I've got to get it on pretty straight. So I'm going to go ahead and peel part of this off, if it allows me to. Make sure you burnish it down the backing to try to get a good stick on here. And I will incorporate a little bit of art glitter glue. You could use Fabri-Tac. I don't like Fabri-Tac, so I just use art glitter glue, but you could use that if you have some. So this ribbon here is not going to be part of the tying, so I'm just doing it straight. Maybe I'm not going to use any glue on it. I don't know yet. The end of it's going to be covered by the element that I put down on top of it. So I'm just going to lay it here and make sure it is going on as straight as I can. I'm pulling it really tight right there. So a lot of it's going to be covered up. Still have my backing on back here. I'm going to just pull it down over the spine and line this up over the score tape. Score tape is about the same size as my ribbon. Okay, press that down really good. Okay, take the back of it off, and then we're going to bring it, stretch it out, get it really tight in here. My head's not in the way. And bring it to the end right here, and then that's where I'm going to cut the ribbon off because it's not going to go into the tying. And you can make it even a little shorter. I do need it a little shorter there. So I'm going to lift it up, got it at an angle, because it's going to be covered. You're not going to see where it ends. And I don't want it sticking out. Lift it up a little more. Okay, I've cut it short. Okay, so that's the back side. Make sure I've got my direction correct. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. So this just glues on top of that. So I'm going to do all that. So I have the back piece glued on. I did drop this down just a little bit more than I originally did to bring it closer to the bottom. And I did ink the edges of the yellow with this tea dye and just my brush. So to kind of give it that vintagey look, and also ink the edges of my die, a locker piece. So there's the back, so it's nice and flat, even though it has some layering going on it. So now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm ready to assemble this part. I've already glued these two down before I did my ribbon like that. I don't know if you could see that one before. So I'm going to go ahead and build all this up and glue it on, and then I'll come back and show you. And again, I am inking, or I already have inked, like the edges of the brick, because I wanted to give a little bit of a solid color to separate right there where it blends in. And I'm inking all the edges of the chipboard pieces because it is white, and so I'm just kind of inking that to fill that in. And I really love that window piece and that piece of paper on the back that I'm going to glue onto there. So okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the gluing, and then I'll be back to show you the finished cover. Okay, so I've got it on. I put this up a little higher here. You can still see these elements behind it. So we have the school scene in there with the desk, the globe, and the chalkboard. I cut this chipboard die cut. Is it a chipboard or just a die cut? The die cut piece. It's pretty thick, but it's not chipboard. Anyway, I cut it to fit here, right above the ribbon, and underneath the brick, and then along the bottom of this brick. So I just think it kind of brings that color and everything in there. And then I glued this on top to Cool for School. So I thought that was kind of cool. That's the sentiment I wanted on the front. So I'm making this more for high school or college student instead of, elementary, which typically most back to school or graduation albums are done that way. So then I tied this into a bow, and I did dove cut the ends, which means you fold it in half. And from the end, you just take your scissor and cut from the end of the ribbon towards the fold at an angle. And then I don't like fray check. I just never have liked it. I use art glitter glue for almost everything. And I just simply dab. I've already done this, but I'll show you again on this one side. I just dab a little bit of glue so that it goes along the edge and get those fibers, and then just kind of smush it in there with my fingers. And I do both sides, front and back, on both of the tips, so along the cut where I cut it. So just a thin line of glue all the way out to the end, and then I just kind of, because it dries clear and it gives it a little stiffness there, and prevents it from raveling. So that's the cover of the book. Love how it looks on both sides. And now I'm going to decorate, and all the decorating will be done off camera because I like to spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I will come back and show you and tell you what I've done. Anyway, I won't leave you hanging, so I will show you everything that's finished at the end here. So I'm going to turn off the camera, and I'm going to keep playing with this album on the inside. I've been busy decorating, and when I got to this section, I thought I would show you what my idea was for decorating this. So I took 3 of the frames, and I cut mats to go on them. So these were 4 4¼ by 3½. I had 2 4¼ by 4¼ square and 1 3½ square. So I trimmed a mat down just a 1/16 of an inch shorter in both directions, and I glue them. I've already done these 2. So I'll look at it and see which way I want the top to be. I think I want this pinker one here to be the top, and I just put a thin line of glue along the outer edge on the 2 sides and the bottom. This way I'm kind of leaving the top open, so if you want to, you can slide a photo down in there, or you can just glue one on the mat if that's what you want to do, but I'm leaving that option with it open. And then I lay this down so we have it on the photo mat like that. Okay, so there's some white showing on this one on the back, which is okay. I'm going to cut it a little smaller, got it a little crooked, but I'm going to cover all that up probably with pattern paper. But then I wanted to make it like a triple flip here on this page. So I cut 1-inch strips, and I cut 2 down to this for this 4¼ and 1 down for the 3½. So I'm just folding those in half. So what I did is I scored at a 1/2 inch on the short side on all 3 of these. Okay. So I'm going to take this one and make sure that my opening is at the top, and I'm going to glue my hinge to the left side on the back. So that means the fold of this hinge goes along the left edge of this frame. So let's just put the glue here on this 1/2 inch section. There's the fold to my left. Line up the left edge of the photo mat to the fold of the hinge, just like that. So that's going to make it where it will flip up like this in the book. Okay, burnish that down. So go ahead and do it on the others. Like I said, make sure your top is open. So you're putting your hinge to the left. So I've got my fold here towards my left, and I'm putting my glue on it. And line it up. Fold along the edge. Make sure it's there. My glue wants to dry really quick. There we go. Line it up and burnish. Okay. So that's one, and then this last one, this is the top edge. So the glue, the hinge is over here, so the glue goes here. So now I have a hinge for all 3 photo mats. Just lining it up. Burnish that down. So now I'm going to decide how I want to put these on. So I did that. Thinking of this one in the middle. Let's see how it looks. See, kind of like that. So I'm going to do this first one first. First, I'm going to put my graduation from the die cuts down. Glue this down. I did ink it a little bit to give it a little more of the vintage look. So I'm going to put this towards the top of my page. And we're going to do this one. Make sure the hinge is on the left. So put your glue here. And I'm going to kind of glue it down underneath the graduation, kind of just a little bit off the edge here. Right here. Now, if I had done this before I put my paper down, I could have done the slit type thing, but that's okay. I can cover that up if I want to. So I'm going to do this one like this, I think. So put the glue on that 1/2 inch. I'm going to lay this down so that that 1/2 inch kind of butts up to that. Whoops, I'll wipe all that off. Don't want that on there. Okay, too much glue there. So it kind of butts up against that one frame right there. Burnish that in. Enough of that glue. Okay, so that leaves this last one here. And I'm going to bring it, butt it up also. So it's just a staggered look. You can pretty much arrange them any way you want on your page. And yeah, they're going to kind of flap up like that, and that's okay. I'm going to put this one here. You know, if you wanted to put some kind of closure on that, but this is going to be closed down like that in the book. So I'm okay with it flopping up like that a little bit. It's just a different way of doing the frames. I thought it would be interesting that way. Then you can just flip up and look at them. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these up. I'll probably put maybe the brown on the back side so I can cover up some of this and that hinge. And that would also act as a photo mat. And like I said, you could put a paper clip or something on this to clip these together if you wanted to make a decorative clip out of something. So I'll see what I want to do with that. And I'll show you the end result when I show you the rest of the album. Okay, so I'm ready to go over what I did with the album as far as decorating on the inside. I've already shown you doing this here on the outside. I don't think I changed anything up with this. I love how it looks. So I've already got it untied. So let's flip it open so that you see the double front pages here with our angled pockets. So the only thing I did on these is add a little die cuts here, the one that says wow and the one that says you can do it. I just glued those on the chalkboard. So that's all I did on that. So in this one, let's take a peek. This is the coin envelope. And so all I did on this, I did some inking. You can see that I did some inking with the distress ink and tea dye. And this is that washi tape. I just added on the numbers back here, the different numbers here, just kind of keep it simple. Then I cut a mat here for this side. I think I did both of them the same, but let me give you the measurements for that. If you want to do the brown mat is it's like 3 3/8 by 4 3/8, and then I cut a piece of scrap paper, pattern paper, and glued that on top. So it's smaller. It's 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. So I did a photo mat on that, and then I added a piece, let this washi wrap around it, and I did ink on the washi to kind of give it that look. I took a scrap of paper here and attached it just at the top behind this large die cut because I just love that, and I added the So Proud. So that's going to be tucked in. The tag, I patterned it the brown on the back, the print on the front, and then I used one of the little tags here and just tied some of that ribbon in there. So that's the tag. And photo mats, like I said, I did the 4. So these, I think I give the measurements in the cutting guide, are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. You do 4 on each of these mats. So you do 2 here, 2 on this side, and then I just put some of the die cuts in the middle and just glued it right in the middle so you can still get your photo up underneath that. So that's what's in this pocket right here. For the other side here, everything that's in it, we also have I put one of the coin envelopes. So this one I did pattern different paper on this. I redid it. It may look different than it did in the tutorial. I think I changed it. Anyway, it has a mat on the back. Put your mat on first. The brown is 3 1/8 by 4. So I just used scraps, different sizes, whatever I had. And then the pattern paper, a little bit of pattern paper is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Put that on. I did ink the envelope and the paper around here, and then I use that washi tape here. It goes all the way up underneath and then around. Tore it here so that it leaves it blank here with the paper, and then put washi tape here and a little bit up here that I tore off from down here. And then you open this up because I forgot to show you in the other one. You open this up, and inside I took several of those sheets of the ruled and the grid, and I just cut them into little pieces that are about 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Rounded the corners, and then I used this punch that I've had for a long time that does the edge like it comes out of a notebook, torn out of a notebook. So I love that. So I took several of those in each of these envelopes here. Kind of have to play with them to make sure the little jaggedy edges get in there, and then just close this up. So you can put photos in these envelopes or some more of the paper, whatever you want to do with that. So that goes in there. This is one of the library cards. So I patterned the front and the back. The front, this side here, the back rather, is 4 wide by 5 7/8. I put a small smile die cut here. I fussy cut this clock out of the paper, glued it there. The pocket is 4 wide, the pattern paper, by 2 3/8. I did notch it. This one is 4 by 3 1/2 and angled it. Put die cuts here. This is inside here. I had just scraps. I grabbed scraps. Yours may be different. This one is 3 7/8 by 4 1/4. Rounded the corners. I have a craft one here that is 3 by 3 1/2. And then that goes in the pocket. Then this is just one of the little cards that I cut out of these 6 by 8, and that tucks in there. And then I inked the back of this locker die cut piece and just stick that in there. I like how that looks. So that goes in there with the envelope punch board, not the envelope punch board, with the coin envelope. And then, excuse me, then this is the folder that we made. Inside, this is a loose piece of this paper, so some of this paper I cut to the 3 1/2 wide by 5 3/4, rounded the corners and did that punch there. This was glued down. This is washi tape that goes around the whole inside piece here of the fold. I just liked how that looked. This one just slides under one of the paper clips that are in the die cuts. I glued this side down. The pattern paper on the front and back are about just under 4 by 6. Glued those on front and back. I did add I think that's a die cut piece or washi. I can't remember. That may be a washi. Yeah, that's washi tape from the washi paper. This is a die cut. The tabs are the die cuts. I glued 2 together to make the tab. And so this paper here goes underneath, and this is just a photo mat that I glued down at the top with the mat, with the paper clip. It is 3 1/2. What is that? 3 1/2? yeah, 3.5 by 4. And then of course this paper just goes under there, and I put awesome, you are awesome die cut right there. So that just tucks in with the other elements there in that pocket. Okay, so let's open up the left side first. Oh, I wanted to tell you that here on the center, I did mat with the brown, the double mat. So for this inside spine piece, it is 1.5 on the brown by 8 1/8. And so the pattern piece is 8 tall by 1 and I can't even look at 1 and 3/8. Sorry. So that's matted there. And then I also matted with just the brown cardstock. This 3/8 sections here. So I cut it just under 3/8, and then the 8 1/8, I believe, or 8. Let's see. I think I did 8. Yeah, 8 inches tall. So I cut 4 of those, one here, one for here, and then 2 in here. Now this one here, I made them a little smaller. So just, 1/4 inch if you need to just cover those inside hinge sections. So let's look at this side over here. So you open this up, you have your pocket that we put the brick on. So it is matted with the brown, which is 6 1/8 wide by 2 7/8 tall. So the brick was 6 by 2 3/4. So that's the brick. So this here is 6 1/8 by however long you need it in here. So it's about 6 inches, and then 6 wide on the patterned by however long I need it, about 5.5, about 5.5 down inside. It doesn't matter on what you cut on that. So here in the pocket, and to decorate this pocket, I put one of the, now I use some regular Scotch tape here, right here, because I just wanted a different look. And then I inked it with some of the ink. So it's just a piece of real Scotch tape, and then a little bit of the washi there. And then I glued one of the tags here, kind of stuck it up over the top of the pocket, and added in some of that ribbon. This is a die cut, and this is a die cut. So we have Dreams Come a Size Too Big, and Awesome, You Are Awesome. And then in here we have one of the library cards. So it's the measurements are going to be the same. The pattern paper, I didn't double mat this. The pattern paper is just 4 1/8 by 2 3/8 notched it. This one up here is 4 1/8 by, to fit into the pocket, about 4. Angle punched it. So inside of it, well, this goes together here. Inside of this, I have one of the little cut aparts. I have a tag I made out of the paper, angle punched and around the bottoms, and then I put some craft here. It's just a scrap. So this little tag is 2 1/8 wide by 3 3/4 tall, rounded and angled. Like I said, I glued on a piece of that ribbon, and then this born for this goes across the top. And this little craft strip is just 1.5 by 3.5. It's just a scrap. So that goes in there like that. On the top of this, I did use one of the die cut pieces here. I left it open so you can slide something up under there. This is just a scrap that I made a mat out of it. It is 3 5/8 by about 4. Usually I don't even cut them down. I just rounded the corners. This is a piece of that Simple Stories wood paper with the grids and the rule paper. This one is 4 3/4 by 3 7/8. I rounded the corners for that one. That goes back in there. And then this is a piece of craft that is 3.5 by 5 1/4. Then I took that large washi in the numbers and put it on there. Just give it that different look. I love how that turned out. So that goes in there. So that tucks into our pocket. Okay. And of course, that's just one piece here. So then here on this side, I use frames from the die cuts, cut mats to fit the frame. So you just measure. The mat for this one is probably 2 7/8 by about 3 7/8. This one is, it's like about the same, 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And I left it open here at the top on the frame part so that I can slide one in if I want to. Added congrats here. This is washi tape from the collection, and then these are die cuts, or dies from it as well. And then this lifts up. So I just have the pattern paper here. I have the brown mat, which is 6, and this one I had to make bigger, 6 3/8 by, I had to make it bigger to cover this section, by 8 1/8. So then this is your 6 by 8 paper here, like that. And then this one I think is cut from that Simple Stories paper. So the mat in brown is 6 1/8 by 8 1/8, and the pattern paper was cut down to 6 by 8. And then I made a pocket here. So this is made out of craft. It is 4 5/8. All right, yeah, 4 5/8 by 2 3/4. This is a ruler with a cut apart. I mean the die cut. So I just glued it at the top edge of that pocket, and then glued this part down and left this so this all comes out of that ruler. Okay, so let me show you just a second. And then this pattern piece here, the brown is 4 1/2 by probably 2 1/2 or so. And then the pattern paper is 4 3/8 by about 2 3/8. So then on that I put die cuts and then some washi tape and inked it. And inside the pocket I have, this is a scrap of paper that is just 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. Inked it, glued one of those little paper die cuts, paper clips on it. This is another piece of paper that is, just look in your scraps, 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. I added some washi tape there, dress it up, and then this is one of the little cut aparts. Got there. Oh, that's a leaf. Okay. And and up here, a frame. So this frame is a die cut, and then of course the brown paper is like 3 3/8 by 3 3/8 for that. So that's what finishes that one up. So love how that looks. Fold that up. Let's take a look over here. We've already done this, so let's look inside. So here the brick, same measurements as the other one. The brown is 6 1/8 by 2 7/8, and the brick is 6 by 2 3/4. Glued that together. I did add a tag here with some ribbon. This is die cuts here. Inside here we matted this with the brown, which is 6 1/8 wide by probably 5 3/4, and then your pattern is the height 5 3/4. It can be the same, but wide is 6. So you trim it down, or you can use the whole length of this pattern paper. I love this paper here. And then we have a piece of the wood, the Simple Stories, and this one is cut 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, rounded the corners, that tucks in there. We have another cardstock, craft cardstock mat is 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. This is the washi tape, that large one. I just love how that looks. Put that on there and inked it. So that goes in there. This is our photo mat with the rounded corners, the 4 pieces that already gave you those are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. I added success there, and remember I just kind of, I think I did, yeah, glued them so that you can stick a photo up under there and put Bravo on this side. So it's open like that. So that just tucks in. And this tag on the brown is 3 3/8 by just a little over 6.5, about 6.5. You know, measure yours to make sure they fit correctly. So this would be 3 5/8 by 6.5. I glued this little cut apart on here, put the little circle with a star die cut and punched a hole in it and added the ribbon. So I love how that turned out. So that's that pocket. And then on this side, the mat here is brown is 6 1/8 by 8 1/8. So this is 6 by 8 in the orange. Washi tape here, a frame, one of the large frames. The craft underneath is about 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Left it open at the top in here where we can add something in, and then this cut apart right there. I mean die cut and die cut here, and then this page flips open. So this is from the 12 by 12 Simple Stories paper. I did matte in brown, so the brown is 6 1/8 by 8 1/8, and the pattern paper is 6 by 8. And then here I added some of the die cuts, and you can slip underneath there. So this is a great place for journaling or more photos. And then this second page here, I did use one of the die cuts. It says success, glued that on, and then cut a piece of paper here with these numbers that covers the back and glued that on. Now this one's a little different. These are 3 frames, 2 big, 2 mediums, and a small. Three different sizes. These are the same. This is different. So the cardstock mats, and I show you in the video, I think, how to do this. So these are, the cardstocks are about 4 by 4 on that one, and 3 1/4 on the smaller one by 3 1/4. And then I made the hinges so that it opens up. Now this is a die cut. These all, you can get your photos in there. Now I've made this paper clip. You have to be real careful there where it hangs on the frame. By using 2 of these from the die cuts, just glued them together and really burnish it well. So that's a paper clip, but there is a magnet inside right there because I put a magnet. Flip these open so you can, they're brown on the back side. Flip these open. I put a magnet here and covered it with a die cut. And then I used strips of paper here, 3/8 wide by the height to finish that off. So when this closes up, it's okay like that. But I thought, well, I'm going to try to hold it down. And I did the paper clip. And if you put it right, it will hold pretty well with that magnet. There you go. You just have to slide it around. So I like that. This side in here, the brown is a little larger. It is 6 3/8 by 8 1/8, and this is your 6 by 8 paper in here. So that's that. So we've already looked at this. So that is the decorating inside of your album with the ribbon on the outside. I love how it turned out. Well, thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments of the video, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. Make sure you shop at countrycraftcreations.com. And if you want more crafting tips or tutorials on craft projects that I do, click subscribe and the bell, and then let's get crafty together. Don't forget the prizes that Country Craft Creations is giving away for this back to school YouTube hop. Some of the entries have to be done on Scrapbookers at Country Craft Creations. If you're not a member, you'll need to go to Facebook and go to that group and request to join. You'll have to answer 3 questions to be accepted into the group. It is a private group, so it's really important that you answer the questions. Otherwise, you won't be accepted as a member. That's the one way to get some entries for these prizes. Jacqueline, in her video, the kickoff video, detailed how you can earn entries for the prizes, so you don't want to miss out. The deadline is Tuesday, August 13, 2024 by midnight Eastern Standard Time, so don't miss out. Next up is Kim's back to school tutorial. I do have her link down below that you can click on, or click on the thumbnail here in the closing section of my video. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you're having a great time. Bye-bye.